very often, when dogs are afraid of men, it's not the only thing they're afraid of. In today's episode of A Dog's Soul and Empath's Guide to Your Dog's Feelings, we're talking about Bixie, a 9-month-old Maltese who is not only afraid of the husband, but also of a variety of sounds. So stay tuned and have fun. Alright, so Bixie is a 9-month-old Maltese. She is originally from a puppy mill and got rescued. And her family saw right away that she was afraid of the husband, which was very sad for him because he loves walks with dogs and he never did anything to give her reason to be afraid of him. He's a very gentle man. He is very gentle with every animal that lives or lived in their household. So it was a completely new experience for them both to have an animal be afraid of him. Usually the mom is the more strict one in the family, so she does more of the training and establishing rules and things like that, and dad is kind of the fun one who likes to walk and play and stuff like that. But for Bixie, that was not possible because she would bolt whenever he would enter a room. She was also afraid of sounds, especially loud banging noises, thunder, and shots. And they live in an area where thunderstorms are relatively common, especially when it's warm outside, and it's warm outside pretty much all the time. So this is a stressful situation for Bixie, right? Bixie is constantly on alert. She's constantly expecting bad things to happen. And that might spring from her having a really bad childhood, right? In a puppy mill, she either had no experiences or bad experiences. She very surely did not have good experiences. And that means we are starting by minus 100. We're not starting at 0. Dogs like that are constantly on edge. They are constantly expecting something horrible happen to them. They are pretty much scared for their life every single day, every single minute of every single day. And since there is somebody in the household that scares her as well, she's not even feeling safe at home. And this is a very special situation. And that's why we did something that I don't always do at the start of training, but we will come to that a little bit later. First, let's see why she's afraid. First of all, there is the no experience, bad experience thing, right, with the husband. But also the sounds. And some sounds are potentially dangerous. They are kind of biologically programmed into the minds, and it's normal to be afraid of them. And one of those is thunder. So very deep, very loud noises. So that's normal, kind of, because they are potentially dangerous. And that also goes for other loud and deep sounds, like loud and deep voices. And that's where men come in. The more loud and the more deep a sound is, the larger the object or individual that makes those sounds. And the smaller an animal is, the more dangerous animals, larger animals, are out there. So this is also kind of something natural, and that's why socialization is so super important. Good experiences, super important in puppyhood. But that was kind of screwed up with her, right? So that's why Bixie is afraid of all these things. And for her, going outside is rarely possible because whenever it's warm and or cloudy, she does not want to go outside. Because when it's warm out, there are more people out, and people make sounds, right? When they work outside, they make sounds. They hammer something, or they slam car doors, or they go hunting and stuff like that. So there are more sounds. And also, clouds predict thunder. This is something dogs are very good at. They are very good at connecting different things to scary things. So that's why scary stuff generalizes very quickly. So the dog very quickly assumes that whenever something is around during a scary situation, that something predicts the scary situation. Like the clouds predict thunder, right? Not every time a cloud is in the sky, thunder happens, but since it sometimes happens, Bixie connected those two. And it was very obvious that she did not want to go outside. She would run from her harness, and she usually didn't run from her harness. So usually she was fine with putting it on, she was fine with the leash, but she wasn't on those days. So it was very obvious to see that she's not afraid of the harness, she's afraid of going outside. This is something that happens once in a while. More often, dogs are afraid of the harness itself and the situation with getting the harness put on them and stuff like that. But some dogs actually connect the harness with going outside. That can be a good thing or a bad thing. And in Bixie's case, it was definitely a bad thing on some days. And Bixie could also not be in the same room with her dad. So whenever he entered the room, she bolted. And whenever there was thunder, she bolted as well. When there were shots, she bolted. And she liked to hide in the basement. That was where it's quiet, there are not many windows, and she can avoid them. And the dad was really awesome. He knew that she was afraid of him. He did not pressure her. He did not try to force interactions with her. So whenever she bolted, he would, of course, not go into the basement, which was awesome. So what we did pretty much at the beginning of training was to have a vet behaviorist included with medication in mind, because a dog who cannot feel safe in any environment needs medication almost always. I'm not a vet behaviorist, and it's not my decision, but I like my clients to really talk to a vet behaviorist when it comes to that, to see if there is anything we can do to help the dog, because the quality of life is seriously compromised when there is no safe spot in the world, right? So that's right at the beginning. At the same time, we established a relaxation zone, and we used the basement for that because she had already chosen the basement. She felt safe there, pretty much, not 100%. She was still shivering and she was still not sleeping when there was thunder going on, but it was better than anywhere else in the house, so we picked the basement. We installed a crate with a blanket over it, so it was even more quiet and very comfy and very cave-like, so she could hide in there. And it was not like a very scary and dark and creepy basement. It was dark, but it was not very scary, so it was like a living room down there. So that helped her a lot. And then we started increasing overall confidence. And you can use anything for that. It's just what comes natural to the dog, what the dog likes, what the dog can actually participate in. And I like to start with sniffing, because sniffing is something really natural for dogs. And most dogs start to like it very, very quickly. So Bixie was no exception. She liked to sniff stuff. She liked to do those little puzzle games. She liked to do food toys. She liked to do searches for a specific scent. And you can do a lot with that, right? You can exercise your dog with that. You can vary the exercises so much that it doesn't really get boring ever. You can include different scents. You can do anything with that. And you can also do man trailing. And that's what we did with her. First, she searched for mom, off leash, of course. She would get a stay, and then the mom would call and she would search for mom. And later we included Dad. So she even started looking for Dad. At first, only his clothes, not himself, because that would be a little bit too quick. But it already connected his scent with something positive, right? With fun interaction, with fun games, with food rewards. So everything positive. And we also introduced very careful counter conditioning. So counter conditioning the sounds. That means pairing the sounds with something really good. So really, really awesome food. And for her, that was bits of cheeseburger. She would, of course, never get a cheeseburger in other situations. But when it came to sounds, she would get pieces of cheeseburger. And the sounds have to be on such a low volume that the dog does not react. That is very important for counter conditioning. And it still has to be audible for the dog, right? So you have to find that sweet spot. And if you make a mistake and turn it up a little bit too high, and that happened with Bixie as well, it happens all the time, the reward has to be extra special. So if you picture Bixie, this tiny little Maltese, she got a whole cheeseburger. Whenever the sound was a little bit too loud, she got a whole cheeseburger. And that made her stay with the mom. She did not run away. Even though she got startled, she did not run away. And that was really awesome. So that was one thing. But very important for the counter conditioning exercises was that Dad would not be in the same room. Why? Because she already associated Dad with danger. And if Dad would be present and she got startled, that might ensure her that Dad is really dangerous. And we did not want that. So Dad had to be in another room. But since she is doing well with her medication and with that training, there will be a time when Dad can be included in direct training with her. That means whenever Bixie walks closer to him, Mom rewards her with a really yummy treat away from him. So she throws it in a different direction. And if that works well, so looking at him, walking closer to him, things like that, we can start including a hand target. It's not yet possible, but that can be the next training step. And she can also get really awesome rewards whenever Dad enters the room. And we're already doing that, but now she gets the rewards in her relaxation zone because she still bolts from the room. She doesn't do it when he's already in the room and she comes in. That's okay. That's possible with the man trailing exercise. But the other way around needs some more training. Again, since she doesn't run as fast as in the beginning, we are making progress. And fear is something that can take a really long time. Fear is something that is completely individual. So some dogs are really fast with getting better. Some dogs are not. Some dogs need medication. Some dogs don't. What is, in my opinion, the really important takeaway message from this case is that we have to take fear seriously. That's one thing. And that sometimes medication is a good idea right from the start when the quality of life is compromised. We need to provide our dogs with quality of life. And if there is no safe space in the world, we need to help them medically to just dampen the fear a little bit. Give them more of the good hormones that counter fear and just help them feel a little better overall. So don't hesitate to ask a vet behaviorist. If the vet behaviorist tells you that it's not necessary to give medication, all right, you have at least tried. But if you never try, you never know if your dog could have it a lot easier, right? So have a lot of fun training, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.